Brian,
Yes.
what's happening, man?
I mean, I'm just feeling like,
We weren't even supposed to do a show today. We had a banked episode today.
oh, yeah. But here's the thing. Everybody knows that a ghost can attack at any time of the day or
sure.
night.
Uh-huh.
But what nobody considered
What?
is that sometimes
Uh-huh.
ghosts become live.
Yes.
Nobody expects the live ghost. They all think they're dead.
Well, we were live once where we were both high and I was totally normal, and now you're totally normal. So either we're not high or I'm high, or we're both high and you've gotten high a lot since then, and now you're totally normal.
Now all of a sudden I've learned to control my mullet fire.
I've just given everybody an SAT problem.
You know what? I've
Which of
solved
these are
it,
not possible?
and I believe what you mean to say is today was a day worthy of celebration.
Yeah, man. So for those of you who are unaware, we have talked about it here in our in the Diamond Club upfronts
Yep.
that World's Greatest Con is something that we had been working on in secret. That was a secret project. That's why this is still audio only, despite the fact that I'm down here in Austin. But we did not know when it was going to be released because Apple was being a real
piece of fruit about
real-
the whole thing.
a real pack of silly billy goats.
A real vessel filled with poisonous seeds.
Yeah, about accepting the podcast thing, but it went through yesterday during the afternoon, and we decided to do our final edits on episodes 1 and 2, post them yesterday, make today the day that we kind of pulled all the levers. So do we want to start with where we are now? Do we want to start with a call to action? How do we want to go?
Yeah, if you are hearing our voice, now more than ever, it's very, very important. We've talked, as we've launched projects before in the past, that, and again, I don't know how much of this has changed, but that, number one, the only charts that matter are Apple Podcast charts, because they're the ones everybody else scrapes.
All platforms matter,
Right.
but only one chart matters in the industry.
Correct. Because everybody steals crib notes off of it.
Yeah, it is not quite the dominant platform like it used to be, but it still is the most used platform, and thus people care about the things that do well on those charts.
It's also a famously secretive chart because they don't exactly divulge how to game it. They don't exactly put out a press release of like, do you want to be number one on our charts? Here's how you do it. So, but man, this goes all the way back to 2008. I remember Tom Merritt said that the scuttlebutt in the industry was that they had kind of a rolling 4-hour average. So the idea being, if they updated every 15 minutes, then what's the use of that?
Everything is changed every 5 seconds, and so there's no consistency to the charts.
I would have to imagine in the 13 years since we launched Scam School that a number of people have tried variations on what we called Operation iScam at the time, of everybody trying to sub at the exact same moment to game the charts and so on, which so this is pure speculation on my part, but I would suspect that there's some kind of smoothing of that curve where it's yes, it matters how much you get in a day or most of a day, but it doesn't matter how many you get in a matter of minutes. So in other words, it's not too late. If you want to participate, know that the next couple of days, sustained interest is what will continue our forward momentum, which has been prodigious. So, first of all, to be clear, everybody, it's called World's Greatest Con, and the only chart that matters is the one on Apple. I don't care how you consume it, but subscribe to it on the Apple, and they don't even call it subscribing anymore. They call it following.
Because
some places it's subscribe, some places it's follow.
Apple, it's follow now because they're going to be
plus
Patreon.
Icon. The plus icon.
Exactly.
In the podcast app.
Oh,
Plus
you know
us,
what? There's
plus
a
us
little
up.
bit of a clue right here on the popularity rankings. So right now there are 3 things on the feed. There's the feature trailer, which is something that is persistent and stays there.
Yep.
So that, let's say, years from now, you're like, what's this channel like? And you hit go and you hear the first 6-minute trailer or whatever. But you'll notice that episode 2 is at the most popular. And then there's a dip on episode 3. And there's 2 reasons why that would be. One is that I guess around 10,000 people have watched it on the Scam Stuff channel.
Yep.
Because we did the reel-to-reel thing. However, a lot of people encountered episode 1 not on our feed.
No, Brian. Shout out to the legend, Jack Resider, who we're going to have on Great Night sometime soon, because he did us a solid amongst solids, and in his very popular feed for Darknet Diaries, literally just put not only the full episode 1, but also a glowing, ringing endorsement in front of it. So it didn't just start out with an unfamiliar voice; it started out with Jack's voice, and
a reason, like so, and the way that came to be, and this has been very difficult because I'm vaguely aware that I'm very giving with my advice, and I love helping people become successful. The thought of asking for anything is very painful for me, and so. But I knew today was the day I had to do it, and so I texted.
Well, we had a conversation on Friday,
yes,
where we were talking about people we could ask for this favor, and I listed a few people that were slam dunks,
right,
and then I listed 2 that were difficult to impossible.
Right.
For the sake of our dignity, I won't mention the other one, but Jack was one of them.
And even Jack, I was, and the context was, well, hit up these 2 people and ask if they'll put the trailer at the end of the thing. You mentioned 4 people, and 2 were slam dunks.
Yes.
And in fact, thank you very much in advance, Tom Merritt.
Yeah.
And then like that kind of thing, where it's like, we know we can ask for that favor. But then it was Jack Resider and somebody who I was like, whoa, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did reach out to Jack, and I was like, hey, can, our big day, you've heard it. You've listened to all 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Do you think you could put the trailer at the end of a thing? And instantly responded with, yeah, how about I just go ahead and put you on oh, sorry, I'm distracted. Sorry.
We're on the front page of the history category as top shows.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, look at that, baby.
Front
look at
page. That. No scrolling necessary.
Whoa.
No, we're right in there. Right in there, along with lore and dark history, sword and scale. These are all names that I know because I've been looking at them obsessively all day.
So I sent that text to Jack.
And we're on new shows.
New shows, too.
They noticed us. They really noticed us.
Senpai.
Anyway, I write Jack, and I'm like, hey, can you put a trailer on there? And Jack instantly responds with, why don't I just run the whole first episode on my feed? And I'm like, and then Justin, I guess, has done his homework. And only after he agreed to this did Justin reveal to me how many people that exposed us to.
No, Jack told us in the email.
Oh, damn.
Jack let us know, hey, by the way, here's my audience. To which it's like... Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you're hanging out with your friend and you know he does well, but then he leaves his bank app open and you're like, God damn, son, I didn't know you, like, holy, I thought we were, I'm never buying dinner with you again.
And it's not only that, it's the fact that, that his audience is like, I've gone to Dragon Con, which I would think would be my people and are my people.
Yes.
But man, I've been to DEF CON, and we had to set up a red carpet and a background for all the people lining up to take photos, and it's like Jack's audience has been there since 2008 for Revision 3 days and all of that stuff. And if they're suddenly realizing, oh my God, that's that guy that I know or whatever, and there were people that reached out saying, oh my God, I listened to the first episode on Darknet Diaries, and I remember you from however far back. Like, Jack offered a portal back to the enthusiasm of the Big Dig Shindig at Stubbs in 2009 and 2010 or whatever. And I'm very, very thankful.
I think the biggest thing when we were looking at, like, all right, let's shoot for the moon here and ask for people, like, it wasn't done just in raw numbers, but more in shared audience. If we were going to think of, like, all right, like, what audience would have the best shot at listening to the product, to episode 1, and saying, oh yeah, no, this is my thing. Like, you know, if we got placement on, like, The Daily or something, which is massive, gigantic, but is not what the Daily audience might want, right? Like, we would get a fraction of that piece, and it might you know, be something that is not great. But for that Darknet Diaries audience, it's exactly like what we're kind of looking for,
and also very likely a familiar name or voice, or that they remember from their past, and maybe they've fallen off, maybe they never discovered the Modern Rogue, or didn't, you know, follow the journey for the last 4 or 5 years or whatever.
Yeah,
but, you know, here's Jack, somebody they currently like, saying, this is a thing I currently like, and it's from that guy you previously liked.
Yeah.
I have some updates.
Updates?
Overall podcast, number 88.
Oh man! So we've sat here, it went from 110 to 100 to 88.
Episode 1 in history is the number 195 episode right now of history podcasts.
Oh, okay, so that's big because that's, I believe, in raw downloads.
Yes. Episode 2, 120th place.
Yeah.
And the episode of Darknet Diaries with World's Greatest Con is the number 5 technology podcast episode right now.
Wow.
That is just above Marketplace and some people who think about the weeks.
That's
The Verge.
It's also really kind that Jack just titled it "Introducing World's Greatest Con." Not and you know, I mean, that implies a level of kinship that normally is reserved for, you know, networks. You know what I mean? Where it's like, here's one beyond in a network.
In the professional wrestling industry, they call it the rub. He gave us the rub. Like when we are unknown, and all of a sudden, a big established thing says, "You want to know what you'd love? This unknown thing." We walk out, their audience has responded to it. Those episode numbers are remarkable. That is awesome.
Yeah. So the question about on his feed, he has it listed as explicit. We listed it as clean. It's because
I think the rest of his show
I just
is
think
explicit.
I just think his feed is explicit.
Well, and also I do say the word asshole, like in the first 5 minutes.
Well, and shit.
So,
I mean, but also, yeah. I don't know.
I only ask because the actual World's Greatest Con feed is listed as clean.
It is a clean feed.
As long as you don't mind the word bullshit.
Or asshole, I guess.
Yeah, but is that...
Yeah.
That's on, like, network television these days.
I mean, if you wipe your butt, then you have a clean asshole. If you wipe the bullshit from your asshole, then it's clean. I don't understand what the problem is.
Why doesn't Barney just say asshole?
I'm trying to get into our first sponsor, Tushy. Do you want a clean asshole free of bullshit?
I'll tell you what. You have all right. When do I get to send the emails to the networks that didn't take us?
Oh, very soon.
When do I get to send?
Very quickly.
Like, should I send the email if we crack in the top 25 and be like, we're in the top 25, and then if we get in the top 10, just be like, oh, we're in the top 10.
This is something that we've talked before about how I have this whole circle where you start with story and then build attention and then do sales, and people try to go backwards on the circle and it never works. I'm not going to lie, fully admit, I tried to go backwards on the circle. I thought that my reputation and my history and my backstory would allow us to pre-sell ads going into it.
Yep.
And of course, the first question everyone asked was, well, what are the numbers?
Yeah.
And I say, no, dummy. That's not how gambling works. The way gambling works is you give me money, and then maybe you have the next
value,
big thing.
The value that you have
is that you're selling it for pennies on the dollar.
Cheap price before we can start doing the numbers and start setting a market rate for this.
Fucking guess who's paying full retail now?
Everybody!
Yo, this brought to you by Cardboard Box Mattresses. We send you a cardboard box. What's in it? Nothing, because you sleep on the cardboard fucking box. It's a mattress. This ad cost us $10,000.
Dude, we're selling out to anyone for like the highest, like just the highest dollar, the highest dollar offer. That's it. We don't give a shit. It's going to be like totallysafe.ru. Promo code your social security number.
So, man, mega shouts out to Darknet Diaries. Like, quite honestly, if I had a time machine and had my pick of any place to showcase our shit, you know, even just a taste of it, much less the whole fucking goddamn episode.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a perfect Venn diagram circle of our stuff. Like, I would imagine fairly few of his audience weren't familiar with the last 13 years of our work and going back to Scam School and everything. And this, like, we talked about the strength of this being that for 13 years, I've been branding myself as the scams and cons guy. And this is the first time that we're combining stories, with history. So we're only widening the circle.
Well, and look, I've said this before, but the DNA of the show from a producer's perspective was trying to create the Brian experience. And in that, my favorite shows in that genre are Cocaine and Rhinestones, You Must Remember This, Darknet Diaries, and Hardcore History. Of those, the two that would have the audiences that would be akin to the subject matter that we are talking about the most are Hardcore History and Darknet Diaries. And Hardcore History is something where it's like, it's the Bible. It just shows up in 6-hour blocks, and it doesn't have ads, and it doesn't have breaks. So even if you found like $100 bill in the Bible, you would just like slap it to the ground in case God like struck you down. So it's like the only one.
Also, you would immediately turn the page because you're so interested in the Bible.
In the Bible,
like, whatever. This piece of paper, somebody has a bookmark.
Like, who got paper in my Bible? And so for Jack to be again that accommodating, what a legend. Thank you, Jack Resider. Thank you, Darknet Diaries listeners, if for whatever reason you are listening to this now. Brian.
Sorry. I just saw something. Fucking.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Dan Carlin's Hardcore History because he's the number 4 top history podcast right now. Number 5 from Dog and Pony Show audio production house, World's Greatest Con.
Fucking, do you realize this is like a real photograph from history of John Wilkes Bryan sneaking up on Abraham Carlin?
All right. Now you're getting bold, huh? Now you're getting bold.
I'll call him right now. I'll accept his concession speech live on the air.
Yeah, that's really cute, Brian. Yeah. Tide goes in, tide goes out. End quote. No, that's amazing. That's an amazing thing to see. Just our stuff next to really the god of that genre. I think of everybody that I've said and of all those voices on those shows that I just named, what's the same about them is that they are doing performative versions of a part of them. Well, right?
And also
he's the god. He is the put him in stained glass,
right?
The like heightened version of a guy enthralls you with a story was made at the knee of Dan Carlin and our modern.
Well, and that is what makes Hardcore History so extraordinary is that he is the real deal in that he really does read all of the books. He really does internalize all of the stories, and he does not read them to you. He doesn't. He tells them. He talks to you. I think it's fair to say that neither one of us alone has that gift, but we can pull off a con of looking an awful lot like that between the two of us.
Absolutely.
And relying on a lot of music and sound effects and stuff,
which he eschews.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
he again is God.
Again, he's an actual organist. Meanwhile, we're Fred Willard subbing in at a funeral.
I mean, yeah, if
smashing plates.
If God showed up like and was like, "Hey, I have my word unto thee," and then some wedding band started like playing keyboard behind him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I just thought it was epic. I was just trying to do like an epic thing. He's like, "No, shut up! I'm God." All right, here. I made a promise to Diamond Club.
Oh no.
In the Discord. Uh-oh. I know you've been trying to delay this.
I continue to try to delay it.
I made a promise to Diamond Club that...
You sure you don't want to hear about how many people open the email?
That if we made top 10 history...
Damn it.
that we would play some outtakes, including the first outtake.
I'm really glad you brought beer.
How long ago do you reckon this was?
It would have been December or January.
I would say, I actually wish I looked it up. I don't know why I asked you without an answer, but like,
this is the early days, and we've talked a bit about our process. And the process, obviously, we're both getting better. It's every episode is coming out faster.
Here's how things initially worked. We had this idea. There was a loose script, and
I would say you wrote a very good script every time. I was just bad at reading it, and
well, I mean that's I mean I don't know. We can. I think you are going to do you, and that's what I want.
Right.
Like, I don't write it to be read verbatim. I think that there are certain history things that we need to read verbatim just for clarity purposes. But like,
right. But specifically in the early days, because it was before we had learned our ebb and flow.
Yeah.
I'm trying very hard to please Justin.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to exactly nail the script, which means if I make it 2.5 sentences in before I flub one word, I'm like, no. And I stop and I go back to the last save point.
And I
like
think,
it's a video game.
That's part of you being a video person.
Right.
Is that like in video, you want to give way more coverage so people can cut in different places. When you're not dealing with video stuff and you're only dealing in audio stuff, I can edit syllables together and make a word, right?
Right.
So, there was a point in which we're reading the first episode. This is the first episode, one of the first recording sessions. Where also we had realized this because initially I just gave you the script and I had you read it, and it was not great. It was a moment where
it was dense, to be generous.
I think we work very well together. Obviously, since we're doing a show, we've been co-hosts. Like, and to not use that energy would be a waste. And so I rewrote certain stuff that I learned from your initial read, so we had to reread it anyway, and I was going to be there this time. And so you now resetting because you don't want to leave me without coverage means that there's a moment in which you are resetting and anchoring your line on one phrase.
I'm getting back to the last thing. Like, there comes a point where it stops and we get it, and I'm like, yes, that's done. And then it's like, oh, now I'm fucking it up this way, I'm fucking it up that way, and it's like, okay, let's get back to that moment and try to just get on through. In my mind, I have to go back to that save point in video game terms.
Yep.
5, maybe 6 times, but eventually I nail it. Okay, so I think. And then Justin sits down to do the editing, and some part of Justin becomes aware, wow, Brian really had to go back to that save point a lot. So much. Place your bets. Place your bets. Everyone put a number of how many times I had to go back to my save point to get through like the next paragraph of this thing.
Yeah. So this is the intro. The intro to the episode has this big reveal that our heroes are going to hoax Adolf Hitler. That's the save point. And so
Right.
I couldn't just make a
Someone who
supercut
is most certainly not an honest John. Adolf Hitler.
And so that's what Brian is saying. Now, I couldn't just make a supercut of just every time he said it.
Just play.
I had to set it to music, so here we go. This is the Adolf Mega Mix.
Adolf Hitler. 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 And in this series, I'm going to tell you exactly who. I'm going to tell you who did it. Adolf Hitler. Where they did it. Adolf Hitler. What they did. Adolf Hitler. 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 Adolf Hitler.
It's a show about World War II. All right, it's a show about World War II.
Look,
so
yeah,
we're just
you want a
making
show
that
about
clear.
World War II? You're gonna have to break a few Adolf Hitler.
You're gonna say Adolf Hitler a lot. Like Brian just happened to say Adolf Hitler a lot.
No, I forgot that. So that also gives me a time context because we took a
'Cause
moment
it was
to,
the McMillions.
to shit all over
Yeah.
McMillions. Yeah.
So there's another thing that can reveal some of the behind the scenes stuff because I, as a voice, for everybody that's there, I do not appear as a voice at all in this series. I was totally behind the scenes on this, and so this will be the first time that anybody hears, our interaction behind the scenes.
Oh no.
But all right, so here's when Brian was reading the stuff. One of the things that I think you developed really, really well was realizing that there's a difference between Modern Rogue and Greatest Con in
Correct.
that on Modern Rogue, you're very much identifying with the viewer that like, I think I know what I'm doing, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Let me take the piss out of myself a little bit so I can identify with the viewer and be kind of vulnerable in a way that you can't do in a show where people are downloading it because they trust you to tell them a story.
Right. For example, a thing we've never ever done on either Scam School, Scam Nation, Hacking the System, or Modern Rogue is had a moment where I set up a bar bet and then turned to the camera and said, yeah, I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, I could really see it going one way, but on the other hand, I could see it going another way. I mean, what do you do in this situation? Do you vote the one side or do you vote the other? I mean, there's money on the line. You might get a free drink. Think about the stakes here. Like that's you are correct. I am in the audience next to the audience in this project in a way I've never done before and have had to develop a voice.
You had to develop an authority of like not eroding your own dominance in telling the story so you could relate to the audience. Like there is an element where people are like, they're there for you to keep talking. And every once in a while you can step back, but certainly not when it comes to like facts or figures or anything like that. Cause then there's a question in their head. So, here's my,
I know what you're getting at. And yes, I am humble. I aspire to be humble to a fault. And here's what it sounds like when Justin catches me actually having it be a fault. And he calls out the fact that this is a problem and you need to knock it off because you're humble to a fault. And when I say fault, I mean it'll be your fault that this project is a fucking failure because you're being too fucking humble.
If you've ever wondered what it's like to work with me, please, Bryce, Stop Deflecting.
All right, here is stopdeflecting.mp3. Here it is.
I'm already giving advices on titles and thumbnails like it's a YouTube video.
Fuck you. Stop deflecting. Stop deflecting.
Okay.
So there we go.
I thought it was going to be 8 more minutes to that, and then the Mr. Belvedere theme was going to come in.
No, these are all clips that I just extemporaneously, while I was editing, just picked out little moments.
You favorited you gave it a heart.
And here's the last one I'll play. This is probably the most.
Stop deflecting the audience.
This is the most Night Attack moment that happened. One of the most Night Attack moments that happened during a recording. This is from episode 1. Play Chumley's. There's there we go.
Gotcha. We're about to play an MP3 file right now.
Our first hero is Charles Chumley. He's the head of the 20 committee.
And he's got a big old dick.
So unprofessional. Imagine trying to work.
Apologies to the Chumley family? Apology? Should I apologize, or should I? I mean, let's assume he's got a big old dick.
Oh man. Yeah, dude.
And there's other funny things here, but they're from episodes that you haven't heard yet.
I was about to say some of the ones I wanted to bring up haven't come up yet. Can we talk before we talk about the emotionally heavy thing? I do want to sort of just marvel for a moment. I've been building the email list that now, when you get an email from me and you're like, is this a mass email? That list began in 1997. I started passing out, a piece of paper for people to sign up on for a giveaway at the end of the show. So 25 years? Yeah, 25 years I've been building that email list. So it's now in the very, very low 6 figure. I don't care. It's like at 123,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Which for a small business is pretty good, especially once I moved to MailChimp, I lost a lot of those, and you find out that you thought you were in a stadium and it turns out you're in a nightclub. But one of the things is you pay attention a lot to the open rate, and it matters when you are introducing a new product or whatever. It is a good open rate, usually 10%. 15% is great. 20, clearly, I'm not introducing a product. I'm giving a gift of something. It's like there's something about it that is landing with people. As of now, the text-only email where I pointed out to people saying, hey, it's a very important moment. There's this chart and minutes matter if you would like. There's no links. I just say, go find it and subscribe if you would.
Yeah.
And I said, and send me a note and I'll even thank you. And by the way, to the 500 people in the backlog, yes, I intend to individually thank every single one of them. But 46% open rate, like 56,000 people open this. I don't know if that's a testament to the fact that we were bringing them a gift of here's a new thing, here's a new project, or if it was a testament to the brevity of, or the honesty, or the lack of sales anything.
I think that's part of it, is that this is predominantly a sales email that now just brought you a free thing that you should go be a part of a cool team about. Then and like that is. Oh, chef's kiss.
And with any luck, fingers crossed, the fact that there was no link and that everybody who did anything has to actually open up their podcast app, search for the thing, find the thing, and then press follow the thing.
Yeah.
And thank you to the hundreds of people who jumped into. I mean, that's why magic is happening right this very moment. But the only other thing on my agenda was last night we started the unfurling of metaphor, the unfurling of the sails. We put this ship to sea.
Yep.
And it was unexpectedly hard for me. At this point, Justin was celebratory. I
was drinking. I don't know how celebratory I was. Like,
Okay,
it
well-
was emotional. But please go ahead.
I was sitting alone and crying because I hadn't realized how much we had put into this. And also, you know, if you've listened to episode 2, you know, I talk a little bit about my brother, and, you know, I had that thought of, I hope I honored him, you know, in it. And it was unexpectedly heavy. And Justin, I remember Justin texting saying, you know, offering, hey man, you want to go celebrate? And I was like, I could do P.T. Barnum tomorrow. I don't think I can do it today. And it was a heavier moment than expected, you know. And
it's a heavy episode
because I realized I let my true innermost thoughts leak the farthest. Like it was only after I couldn't take it back that I realized how much I had given, and it was terrifying, and I had to sit and ask myself if I did a good thing or not, and that was very difficult.
I think based on all the reaction that we had gotten before it released, I felt confident that it was not a bad thing. The question then becomes, you know, when
is it a resonant thing?
What? Yeah, like I tweeted yesterday that episode 2 of World's Greatest Con is the most nerve-wracking thing that I've ever had to edit, they've ever worked on in general. And considering, you know, I was you know part of helping to push this thing out to sea. When we get to episode 2, which, spoiler alert, is the shittiest episode by the just the bare bones of it, because our conflict is our heroes need to write a story. And the win condition is they
wrote a story. Well, and in fact, that was one of the things that we that's sort of what sparked everything, was the conversation of like, fucking, you know, how do we put lipstick on this fucking skeleton? You know, it's like
I'm trying to think of now what some of the initial ideas were in terms of how to. Well, initially, the initial script was a lot more focused on Montague's relationship with Jean Leslie, the secretary, and was a little bit more will they, won't they, and it was more themed around the idea of, is this going too far? And what we found, and this is part of the process, and it's why you can't be married to your words, because if you're married to your words, then you're not going to get what we want, which is authenticity. What we found was that Brian had a story about Jay, which at this point, remember, we are far closer to the funeral, you know.
I think we're like maybe I want to say this is February at this point, so it's been less than 3 months.
Yeah,
or
I think it might even have been maybe a touch earlier. Yeah, no, it was earlier, because I was editing it coming back from. I came up with the stuff that wound up cracking the episode, all the video game stuff, coming back from Atlanta, and that was for an election on January 6th. So,
that's right. So
this was into early December, late December and mid-December when we were actually doing this part of it. And you know, Brian has a story, and obviously, look, I would greatly prefer everybody listen to it if you have not listen to the actual product as opposed to us talk about the product. But when Brian tells this story about Jay, and we realize how we can tie it into the stuff that we had before, you know, it was a weight, not only because I had just watched my friend pour his guts out about Jay, who I know and love, and I know the family, everybody that will be affected by this, I know and love as well. But now I also have to not only not make it disrespectful, I have to make it good.
Yeah, you have to make it work. Yeah,
I have to make it something that, like, look, Jay was somebody that knew if you were to ask Jay as a living person, would you want your tribute to be a great piece of art or a big gushing confessional? I think he would want it to be a big piece of art that delivered on those emotional levels,
Right.
like the things that he worked on as an artist. And
Man, that was a wild. Somebody out there has golden ears and is able to tell how many things came from what different takes or whatever. But one that never got touched was that opening with talking about Jay, because there was this realization that we had that it was like, oh shit, this whole thing I'm doing going through Jay's computer, this is pocket litter that I'm going through and all that stuff. And there was this moment that we were talking about it, and I think Justin quite correctly picked up on that I was fully in state and just said, I would like you to write this
shut
minute
up and
and
go and record.
join me on Skype when you're recording. And that is exactly what came out. And it's like, we can't touch that, even though there are things I would love to tweak about it, but it's like the listener, especially in a medium as intimate as podcasting, like they smell inauthenticity, and
you have no doubt when you are going through that thing that it is exactly what it is. And I will say, from an editor's point of view, there is like 1.5% of anything that is about Jay in that episode that was re-recorded, and it was purely done for clarification purposes, just so nobody got the wrong impression on certain things. It was like it was all done just for clarity. There was nothing that was taken out or redone or resaid. You are hearing Brian pour his guts out.
It is a fine, lucky happenstance, because I would like to believe that I could be the type of person to think to have the presence of mind to do it in the moment. But you can hear, I believe, at one point the me switch from present tense to past tense, and
oh God, I don't even notice that.
yeah,
That's crazy.
I say he's worked on a dozen titles you've heard of, and I talk about him as if he's just behind me, and then at some point,
interesting.
I start using the past tense.
Yeah. Obviously, that episode, even though it's not said there, I think is our tribute to Jay, and it's our tribute to anybody who's gone through grief and addiction and death in your family, because it's something that Brian and I very much was a major theme of the last several years specifically, but this was, I think, cathartic on a lot of levels. Like, not only was it, I think, something where you were feeling really emotional last night because it was out there, but also like it's out.
Yeah.
Like now it's there. People kind of know about where we are, and my brother literally just texted me on the way over here. He had just listened to it and said that he didn't know Jay had died. He was talking about how much fun he had doing the sibling podcast.
Where Jay fucking brought a nuke to a knife fight
back in 2012.
Jesus Christ. Uh-oh. I'm seeing out of the corner of my eye. It looks like, are we backing down?
No. That's the top shows. That's not the
okay.
chart.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, like there's a lot of, you can't be this honest without releasing a lot of stuff, and that's what we did. I'm really, really, really proud of it. I think that we turned that episode into something truly exceptional.
Well, and not only that, it became not only a good episode, it became an episode that was so important that we released with 2 episodes per our discussions, because it was important that people immediately upon downloading get a sense of, it's that first episode sounds like, oh, I get it. He's telling an epic story, and it's about this thing that I already know about.
Yeah.
And it's like it suddenly became like, no, it's very imperative that you spend 70 minutes. After that, if you want to tap out, that's fine. But you need to get a sense of the entire range of where we're willing to go and how personal and real and raw the stories can be.
And I do think that there is that's the range. Like that's you get a sense of where our range is after episodes 1 and 2. You don't quite know exactly how far we'll explore within that range, and that's the fun of episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah, which I'm becoming increasingly worried might be too strong a word. I'm thinking a lot about what we want to do with episode 5, because I've up until today just thought of episode 5 as yeah, all these shows, they tell a story and then they do the whole hey, now we're just doing an interview and real easy, it's like all the other low effort podcasts or whatever. And I'm almost given the reputation we're building for ourselves, I'm almost,
you want to do something more?
I don't know what that more is.
You want to build a little framework?
Yeah,
build something.
or whether it's a little bit more produced or something. Like the one thing I'm scared to do is to look like we're phoning anything in.
I mean, we already got a few good emails.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over. Well, at least this morning. I haven't really checked it. I've been too busy obsessively refreshing other pages. But people are dialed in, and my favorite part about it is that people. We've gotten a few cranks, like, you want to know what the world's greatest con is? Money.
I thought for sure you were going to say, the greatest con is you got me to listen to your show. And I'm like, I'm 50-50. Actually, I'm like 70-30 on thinking they think it's obvious that they mean it as a compliment, but don't realize that the definition of a con is when you're
all
getting
the YouTube
screwed.
comments that are like, oh, like I got conned into being your fan, and I got swindled into loving you and thinking that you're great. Like, I think that is a compliment. But there are a lot of people that have emailed in saying like, hey, if you really love this kind of history, why don't you? And then they describe a thing that we talk about later in the season, and I'm like. You're going to like the show. You're going to like the show. Guarantee it, sir.
So here's the part that is a little bit terrifying, but we have a little bit of data to go on. If you go to youtube.com/scamstuff, where we posted the entirety of episode 1, at first, the only way to get access to it was to sign up on an email list, which meant, that was a pretty good filter to weed out people who weren't going to be excited for it. So when the first 5,000 views or whatever came in, seeing like 1,000 upvotes for every 1 downvote wasn't the craziest thing.
Yeah.
But the second half of those have been just wildlings coming in and judging it for what it is. They seem to. It still seems to be 99.8% thumbs up, and it's slowly dawning on me that it's like maybe it's just really good, and all we have to do is keep doing it, and we could take down Abraham. Carlin,
you gonna crank call him? You gonna crank call him right now?
No. Now is not the time. When I'm powerless and down will be the time to crank down. Like, come on, man. You never crank call when you're on an upswing.
I think you pioneered something, to be honest with you.
Who, he did?
I think you with that video.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly think that it's like.
Oh, that is a legitimate distribution platform, and we are as of I guess we can breaking news. I'm going to take every single episode and we're going to show you it being recorded on a reel-to-reel.
Yep.
And it will be visually rich, and you'll feel good about having it on as a series on the side. And hopefully a lot of people will go to youtube.com/scamstuff and continue to subscribe over there.
Absolutely.
But not for nothing. Like, best $350 I've spent. Like,
it looks awesome.
So good.
It looks fantastic, and yeah, man, it is. It's great. So subscribe to Scam Stuff, because I guess that's where the shows are going to live.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'll also have to see like outtakes, and Scam Stuff has always been a channel that will do anything from ads for products or instructional how-tos to the Bizarre Briefing, which is a long form, and those go pretty long, right, Bryce?
Yeah, those are usually 90 minutes to a couple of hours. We actually haven't done one. I think we haven't done one at all this year.
Oh, did that get crushed with the vid?
It's been we've been busy with Modern Rogue stuff, where it ended up being like the only time we were all in the same place was
when you guys
after
were
a
doing
shoot.
like 50 episodes in 5 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Or doing it all virtual, which has its own sort of weird feel.
Who could ever talk on Skype? It's bullshit.
But there's 5+ years of Bizarre Briefings on there if you want to learn more about some of the stuff that we do. If you like podcasts, but listen to World's Greatest Con first.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think the Scam Stuff channel is a great incubator for a lot of really cool ideas, a lot of really cool content.
There was definitely a fantastic lunch we had with a new friend of ours, where one of the points that he leaned on heavy was, hey, who cares how they see it, as long as they see or hear it?
If there's a number next to it,
add it to the other
then
number.
It all becomes one number.
Exactly. That's when, and then you have a bigger number that advertisers like to hear about. And I'm like, message received, boss.
Yeah. So I get ready for totallylegit.ru. Promo code your mother's maiden name,
along with cardboard boxes as mattresses. .info. Where are you at if you are going to handicap? Because it is a black box mystery how the alchemy of iTunes podcast metrics are done. But we do seem to keep going up, and it seems like we just got noticed and added to some kind of list.
Where we end on the charts?
Yeah.
To be honest, like, I don't, from where we are now, if we never moved another spot, I would be totally happy, provided we stay at that spot
forever.
Forever.
There are certainly worse things than being 11 places above my brother, and me.
Yeah. Like and look, there's our boy Jordan, right?
Yeah, Jordan Harbinger. As a matter of fact, I'm in the middle of chatting with him to go appear on his show to promote my show, which is currently above his show. I love you, Jordan. Yeah.
No, look, I think and Jen Gunter. We're just above Jen Gunter, who I was on a bunch of.
I mean, look, I'm down.
The Wall Street Journal. Hey, I've been on there.
No, I know, because I used to do a Quizatron with her.
Oh yeah!
Oh my God,
nice.
we're more popular than the Breakfast Club. That's amazing.
That's a big one to be.
No, they're massive.
I know, dude.
They're gigantic. But not making Kelly.
BBC Global News. Look at that. We're bigger than the news.
Oh, bigger than the BBC. Oh, look at us. This is one of those moments where we know how short-lived this will be, and so we must enjoy it while we can. Oh, fuck you, Dirty John. Eat shit.
Eat absolute shit, Netflix's Dirty John.
It's been a while since we've done one of these episodes, because we've done a bunch of these
538.
episodes where we yell at people like as we have our fleeting success.
Oh, Tim Ferriss. What are you doing back there, kiddo?
You beat the Scrubs guys.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah, now all I want to do is see everybody I'm ahead of.
No, I'm not encouraging this. I'm closing the window.
Close the window, Bryce. Close it. All right. So where do you think we end? I don't know if we get to number one in history, which again would be like if we get to number one in history, that is not a sub thing. That means we're the top 10 of all podcasts.
Right. That's also like a permanent game changing thing. They can never take that from us. We get to say, our podcast launched and it was, why don't you give money to the number one history podcast?
So let me take a page out of Tyler Mahan the host of Cocaine and Rhinestones, one of the geniuses that pioneered the genre for which we are entering into, and say what he said in season 1 of Cocaine and Rhinestones, which is, do me a favor and tell a friend personally to try this show and subscribe to it. So
not tweeting. Tweeting doesn't count.
Yeah, not tweeting, not sending an email. Like, if you can in person, obviously we're living in dicey times with that, but texting, getting on the phone and saying, you know what, I listened to this show. I think you'd really enjoy it. If you know somebody that you think would enjoy this show, then that's how we want to grow it, is that word of mouth, because this is a personal show. This is an authentic show. This is something that can only live at its best, marketed at its best, when real people talk to real people and say, I think you should try it.
And I'll say this much. You guys know that we're also, at the same time, we're juggling, getting ready to prep Great Night. We're very, very excited to bring back Tuesday Night Shenanigans. We're very excited for bringing more content than we've ever done before. But I cannot with absolute confidence promise what happens after this first arc, this first season, and how good the show is after that. But I can absolutely promise you that if you like the first 2 episodes, episodes 3 and 4 are of equal, if not greater, quality. And that this full arc is the closest I've ever gotten to being part of a team that wrote a fucking novel. I mean, like,
yeah,
it's consistently good for at least 2 more weeks.
Let me point this out. So episodes 1 and 2, which hopefully you have listened to, were co-written by Brian and I. The third episode is the only one that I did not co-write, and that was co-written by Meryl Barr, one of Diamond Club, one of Chat Realm, one of your own.
All Stars
came out and wrote this episode. It's exceptional. It goes into some places. I will say, maybe I'll offer this teaser. As an editor, I wanted to make the first podcast that people threw up listening to, because it gets into some grody things. As we get out of the hypothetical writer world, we get into the very disgusting physical world of how a corpse shows up on a beach and wins the war.
Yeah, I guess we tease it at the end of episode 2. We say,
oh yeah, no, everybody
at the
knows
end of episode
coming.
2. Yeah, we talk about, like, it's one thing to write a bunch of words on a piece of paper. It's another thing when that has to be made flesh, and so it's visceral. But I do want to say, man, Meryl Barr was an extraordinary. I don't know what what do you call it? Not an autodidact. They already know anything. What's somebody who like just needs to hear it once and then can do the thing?
Like perfect pitch?
Yeah, I guess. But
a quick study.
Yes, he was extraordinary at listening to the voice, and he asked to sit in on one of the recording sessions. And then it's like, and you said no.
And I said no.
And then, but you did send him the recording session.
No, yeah.
And he sat and listened to it, and he understood. He was like, oh, I get it now. I get what's happening.
I looped
here,
him
and
into part of the process, which is, we don't want to make anything too precious. You want to be able to break everything and not let ego seep into the cracks, so you can break it enough to make it perfect.
Right.
Or as best as it can be. But yeah, I love that episode, and then episode 4, I co-write, and it is us trying to land the plane. And I'll tell you what,
I was really worried because by episode 3, the behind the scenes engine had started to share little secrets here and there, and had started getting positive feedback.
Yeah, because here's what happens: episode 3 gets done, and then I have to move, so we have to kind of take a pause in what had been weekly production and like progress.
Yep.
And so Brian then goes into, let me send the podcast to everybody I know, and they love it, which is great, right? You'd rather them love it than not love it, but also it's like now Brian's like, oh wait, like I'm not just working on this secret project with Justin and assorted guests, but also like now my friends are really into it, and they're like, how are you going to end it?
Like,
and then Brian's like, and Brian's like,
it'll be good? Question mark.
I can only imagine that the first the deleted text message back is like, I don't know, right?
Like, I'm hoping Justin just has a robot to finish it for me. I don't know. I won't be there. I've already gotten the joy of the first 3.
That's mostly a joke, because I think we already kind of knew at least the stuff that you were bringing to episode 4, which is great and frames everything in such a great way. And I don't know. I'm so pumped.
But also
I'm
first 3 episodes we worked in a vacuum. We closed the doors and we did our recording sessions, and we didn't know if it was good or not. So we had no expectations to live up to. And then I started sharing it, and then there were expectations, and I was just like, oh.
Can we do it? Can we do it?
Yeah. And
I believe we did.
I believe we did too.
I think largely because I reread the book and found out there was a lot more interesting stuff than I thought that was there.
Oh, good. Wait, in ours or the original?
No, so the big book. Oh, by the way, everybody buy Ben McIntyre's book on Operation Mincemeat. It is the iconic tome on this.
I mean, almost the singular resource on the subject.
Unless you are taking the words directly from a basically fictionalized version that was sanitized by the Department of the Ministry of Defense. Montague, who wrote The Man Who Never Was and stuff like that, which a lot of it is BS. Ben McIntyre's book, Operation Mincemeat, the iconic tome. It's being made into a movie. Everybody should support this book because it is great, and the information in it is fantastic. And really, that was the idea: was let's take these stories, let's shrink them down into really bite-sized chunks, and then mix it with not only the infotainment elements, but also Brian's stories. And that's really kind of what makes the secret sauce of World's Greatest Con. But I reread the stuff that I needed to read for episode 4, and I was like, oh, that's good. And now, meanwhile, I've already done 3 episodes, so now I know what to look for. And I'm like, oh, that's going in.
Right.
And that's going in.
Right.
And he's definitely going in. And I'm like, oh, shit, I got to cut people now. Like, I thought I was going to have to stretch, but there's a lot of great characters in episode 4.
Yes. And, oh, man, people in the chat are daring us to prove it's good. Why don't you play it? Play it right now. Go ahead.
Should we play 1 minute of episode 3?
Ooh, that'd be fun. Yeah.
Do you still have my Dropbox open?
Looks like it.
Oh,
If you just go to the home.
yeah. We might even be able to.
No. It's right above that. Yeah, there we go.
We
And
might
just look for Greatest Con 0103.
knowing what episode 3 is about. It starts with the Brian story, anyways.
It does.
So I don't even.
They all
mind.
start with Brian's story.
Well, no. Okay. Well, now you've ruined it. Now they know our method.
Well, now you've ruined it.
Hey, what? You want me to play the Mr. Belvedere theme? But like, I don't even mind a little bit more than a minute.
I'm still looking for it.
Oh, just go to home. If you go to home, it should be on there. That's usually how I find it the fastest, at least. You're gonna have to scroll down a little bit, but Greatest Con 0103.
At a 104.
Yeah.
Somebody
Here,
stole-
I can come over there. I can.
There you go. Well, he's doing that. Let me thank everybody who joins us for Ghost Attacks. We hope you remain patient as we get ready for great night. I'm very, very excited. Don't expect the how can I put it? Expect the structure, if not the polish, that we aspire to, because we have some ideas on the structure, and we've had some really, really good meetings. I'm very, very stoked. Meanwhile, patreon.com/Night Attack is where you want to go.
Wait, hold on. Also, so before we play this, and I don't even know if this is the final version because, but I think the opening is the same in all of them. I'm gonna have a meetup. The first meetup that I have had in over a year. It's in New York City. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's just north of Georgia.
I thought you meant the meetup.
No, the
I was
meetup.
like, you're literally telling me about it right now.
Yeah, so the meetup will be in New York City this Sunday, June 20th, 7 p.m. at Carragher's. That is 228 West 39th Street. So 7 p.m. It's going to be largely for PX3. But of course, I love to see all Diamond Club people, and especially if you tell me that we're geniuses for making this amazingly successful podcast. All right, so episode 3. Is there anything else?
No.
So when do we call it?
Um,
When is it? When is it not just the tip and we're actually just having sex?
Oh, I think we can tell most of the Brian story. Because
So you want to get to the
let's just do the whole opening,
you want to get to the title.
because I think that's only like 4 or 5 minutes.
Let's see.
All right. This is World's Greatest Con. I'm Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, this is a new one.
Story is labor. And telling a good one requires an honest-to-God amount of work that nobody wants to do. Whether it's setting up craft service at 5 a.m. so the Avengers can fight Thanos on a full stomach, laying out the mic so Lady Gaga can record her next single, securing spotlights to make sure that Jim Gaffigan is perfectly lit when he goes into his Hot Pockets routine. No good story is told without a bit of labor tied to it. What's the line on that labor? What's reasonable for the sake of story? Food, mics, lights, these seem like fair game. But what if your story needs more? What if your story is so important, it needs a lot more? I do magic. I fell in love with the idea of a routine. I wanted to shove a skewer through my tongue, sever my tongue, cut it right off on stage, hand this gross meat flesh on a stick to an audience member, and then, yes, reveal that I still have a tongue. But there was a problem. All of the fake tongues I knew how to get looked cheesy as hell. It wasn't easy to get high-end prosthetics, so I did what seemed logical at the time. Picked up the phone book. Before you judge, this was the late 90s. Phone books were still a thing. Did a bit of searching, and I found a deer processing plant 90 minutes outside of town. Drove down there, walked in, asked the guys, hey, I need some deer tongues, but don't worry, it's for a magic trick? I'm almost certain I did not finish my sentence before they were already severing the tongue out of the mouth of a processed deer. Turns out people don't ask a lot of questions at a deer processing plant. Long story short, I went home with 7 severed deer tongues. I get home, I start unbundling things, I figure out real fast, deer tongues look weird. They do not look like human tongues, they're not the right color, they're not exactly the right shape, and oh my god, this is real meat that was inside the mouth of a deer just a few minutes ago. But I have to figure out how to sell them as my tongue, live on stage,
because this bit lives or dies based on how realistic it looks. That's why I'm using real deer tongues for it. It also hits me that nobody is going to swoop in and give me advice here. I'm going to have to figure this out on my own. I tried boiling one, and it turned white and puffy. Microwaving was a disaster. Hard pass. Turns out when you pan fry a deer tongue, it looks like bad steak. I eventually figured out that if I thawed one of the tongues to raw and added just the right amount of red food coloring, it looked enough like a human tongue that I could pull this off. I was down to 2 tongues for 2 performances. I took the first one out of the freezer, put it in the fridge, and crossed my fingers that it would be raw by the next day when on stage I could put it in my mouth. Nerve-wracking. Live on stage, I palm it, reach up into my mouth, bite down on one side, pull it out the other, and I get to the part of the routine where the instructions say, now jab the skewer through the tongue. This is the part I hadn't thought of. I bit down as hard as I could on one side, and I pushed down with the skewer into the deer meat tongue in my mouth. And it was at that moment, live on stage, in front of my first sold-out magic show, that I realized it's going to be a bit harder to punch a skewer through a dead deer's tongue than I thought. Like a lot harder. I'm on stage, having a low-grade panic attack, while meanwhile the people in the front row are realizing that's real gristle and fat and muscle he's punching through. That human being is actually skewering flesh right in front of me. That moment the skewer punctures through, good God, the real gasps of astonishment rippling through the crowd. And then we get to the part of the routine where I cut the tongue out of my skull with scissors. And there, dangling from a skewer, is real flesh. It was beautiful. It was gruesome. It was awful. It was horrifying. It was funny. It was electric. It was everything I ever hoped this moment could be. Mainly gross. I don't think I broke any laws with that routine, but I definitely immediately learned how to make high-quality prosthetics. They traveled better, didn't have to freeze them, best of all, didn't have to shove a dead deer's tongue in my mouth every night. But what if the stakes were higher than just getting a good return on investment on a 4-walled theater for a punk rock magic show, right? What if the stakes of your story involve the sanctity of the free world? How far would you go to protect that? How gross, how dirty would you let your hands get? Would you, I don't know, handle a fresh, rotting human corpse in order to trick Hitler into moving troops somewhere where he shouldn't? For 2 episodes, we've been talking about an almost romantic story about how the good guys beat the bad through nothing but pure chutzpah. They have to bring their story direct from conception to afterlife. If this was Hollywood, they'd spare you the nitty-gritty. Well, we're going to get our hands dirty for a very good story. Cons don't fool us because we're stupid. They fool us because we're human. And this may just be the world's greatest con.
Oh, damn. Ghosts can attack at any time of the day or night.
Especially
maybe
if they
even
subscribe on
live.
Apple.
Right now.
We're only so many away. We could We could
So
tickle-
close,
We
please,
we
just
can
call a
leapfrog
friend.
Papa
Just
Carlin.
Call a friend right
Papa
now.
Carlin.
Papa Carlin. Oh, Papa Carlin.
Papa, be proud of me, Papa Carlin. Look at
Papa
me.
Carlin, please.
Look at me, Papa Carlin.
Papa Carlin, can't you see?
We're just trying to make you proud, Papa
Oh,
Carlin.
Papa Carlin.
Look at us run, Papa Carlin.
Oh, hey, Papa Carlin, look. Oh,
We're running so fast.
your back is still towards us.
Oh.
Hopes you've enjoyed this program.